Okay, so now that we have Tor browser installed, let's go ahead and make sure that it's working as expected and is routing all of the traffic through the Tor network. Now I'm going to be using the Tor browser on Windows, but as seen before, the interface is identical on Windows, Linux, and OS X. The installation is different, and I showed you how to install it on all of these operating systems. So once it's installed, using the browser is exactly the same. So I'm going to double click the launcher. And as you can see, you get a normal browser window. And don't maximize this window ever, and I'll talk about that later. But for now, just to check to make sure that Tor is working, I'm gonna go to check.torproject.org. And as you can see, it's saying congratulations, this browser is configured to use Tor, and it's giving us the IP that our browser appears to be coming from. So this is not my real IP, this is the IP that I will appear that I'm coming from. So this is all perfect, and I'll talk about more Tor settings in a future lecture. But right now, I want to show you how to bypass Tor being blocked. So in case you came to this website and it didn't load, or if you saw a warning here saying Tor is not working, then this could be because your network administrator or your internet service provider is blocking you from using Tor. See, when you try to access Tor, as I mentioned before, the first thing you'll have to do is connect to the Tor network and send your traffic to a random Tor node. So you're going to pick one of these nodes and you're going to send your traffic through it as the first node. The problem is, before you can actually connect and send data to this node, your data can easily be intercepted by your network administrator or your internet service provider before it even reaches the first node and before it's even able to connect to the Tor network. So what your internet service provider or ISP can do is they could identify all the available Tor nodes right here, the white circles, because they are publicly available, and then just block them all, prevent you from connecting to any of these white circles. So therefore, whenever you try to connect to Tor, you're passing by internet service provider, which is running a firewall, checking if you're trying to connect to any of these nodes, and if you are, it'll block your connection. The result of this is when you come in to load this page, it'll either not load or it's going to tell you that you're not using the Tor network. A simple solution to this is to use a Tor bridge as the first node. What we mean by Tor bridges, they are normal nodes similar to all the white circles that we can see in here, but they are not publicly available. So the only way that the internet service provider was able to block us is because they know all the white circles, they know all the public nodes, and they have a rule in their firewall to prevent any user from connecting to any of these white circles. So to bypass this, we can just use a node that is not publicly available. It's not being advertised. That way, when we try to connect to it, the internet service provider will not have this node in its list, and therefore we can connect to it and then continue using Tor, going out to another website or even going in and accessing an onion service. So this is pretty good. It's a pretty good solution until firewalls and service providers became smarter and implemented more advanced methods. What they started doing is they started using deep packet filtering, or what's known as DPI, to identify Tor traffic and block it. So they don't even care about which node you're trying to connect to. They started analyzing all traffic that you sent out of your computer, and they managed to identify what Tor traffic looks like. So like I said before, when you use Tor, they can't really see which websites you're trying to go to, but they'll be able to see that you're trying to use the Tor network. either by identifying the node that you're trying to connect to, or by using deep packet filtering, which will tell them that the traffic of this user matches a signature of a Tor traffic, therefore this user is using Tor, therefore we will block this traffic. So the solution to this is to use a pluggable transport. Pluggable transports will try to make your traffic look similar to any other normal traffic. So when you're trying to connect to a bridge, we're going to use a bridge that can use a pluggable transport. And this way, all the traffic that we're going to send will not look like Tor traffic. It'll look similar to traffic that's generated when you're trying to access Google or Facebook or any other website, similar to any normal web traffic. Now, this is a pretty good solution. It'll work in many cases, but it can still fail in some instances. But the worst case scenario, even if it fails, the internet service provider will be able to know that you're using Tor, but again, they won't really know which websites you're trying to access, unless they run a more sophisticated attack. Now, keep in mind, this will slow down your connection. So if you were able to browse this page and it's telling you that everything is working, then maybe you shouldn't really use them. It really depends on your case. And in the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to configure Tor to use a bridge with a pluggable transport to access the Tor network even if it's being blocked. Okay, so now that we know what bridges and pluggable transports are, let's see how we can get them and configure our Tor browser to use them so we can access Tor even if it's being blocked by our internet service provider or by our network administrator. So the first thing you want to do is, right here I have my normal Firefox browser. This is not the Tor browser. And I've loaded the bridge database, which you can get by going to bridges.torproject.org. I'm going to include this link in the resources of this lecture. And once you're here, you can just click Just Give Me Bridges to get the normal bridges that will allow you to access Tor if the firewall is only blocking the known Tor nodes, so if it's not using DPI. And we can also set the advanced options here and select a pluggable transport so that we can access Tor even if the firewall is using deep packet filtering, analyzing our traffic and blocking all traffic that seems like it's Tor traffic. So I'm going to keep everything the same. I'm going to keep using the same pluggable transport. But as you can see, we have a number of options that you can try. If one of them didn't work, you can try the other one. But I'm going to keep this on Ops 4. So right now, all I have to do is just click on Get Bridges. But if this page did not load for you, because chances are if your service provider is blocking you from using Tor, they might be blocking this as well. So in order to get your bridges, you can send an email to bridges@torproject.org. You have to send this email from either a Gmail, a Yahoo, or a RiseUp account. Once you do that, if you just type bridges in the email, you will actually get an email with all the available bridges and pluggable transports, similar to the email that I got right here. So if I wanted to get normal bridges, so bridges that you can get by clicking on the green button here, all I have to do is just send an email saying get bridges. Or if I want to get a bridge that uses a pluggable transport, so similar to me clicking on the purple button here, then I can send get transport followed by the transport type. And again, as you can see, the available transport types are similar to the available transport types here that we get when we click on the drop-down list. So let me show you how to get the transports if this page is blocked. So all I have to do is compose a new email. We're going to send this to bridges@torproject.org. And I'm going to say I want to get transport. So we're doing this command, and the transport that I want to get is the ops4. So space ops4. We're gonna send this, and this will take less than a minute, and you should get your bridges in an email in your inbox. And perfect, as you can see, I have an email here. If we click on this, you'll see I have my bridges, which I can just copy and paste them in my Tor browser. But as you can see right here, it's working for me, and it could be working for a lot of you. So if this was working, all you have to do is just literally click on Get Bridges. It's gonna ask me to fill up the CAPTCHA. So I'm gonna set this to Q. So I'm gonna try to fill it. Hopefully I get it right from the first time. And perfect, as you can see, I have my bridges that use the ops4 pluggable transport, as you can see. So all I have to do is select all, it's already selected. I'm gonna copy it, Control C. And then I'm gonna go to my Tor browser, which I have already loaded before. I'm gonna go on Tor network settings. I'm gonna tick the first box, Tor is censored in my country. I'm gonna click on provide a bridge that I know, and I'm gonna paste the bridges that I just copied, Control V, and I'm done. I'm gonna click on OK. And now Tor should be going through the bridges that we just configured it. So if, again, you'd only need to do this if this page did not load, or if it loaded and told you you're not using the Tor browser. So in my case, it's already working, but I'm just gonna double check to make sure that I didn't break anything by using the bridges. And perfect, as you can see, it's telling me that Tor is working and all my traffic is going through the Tor network right now. Now, like I said, with this method, you might notice that the connection will get a little bit slower than a normal Tor connection. Again, because obviously the traffic is being obfuscated to make it look like it's normal traffic and not Tor traffic. Also, like I said, in worst case scenario, even if this didn't work, your internet service provider will be able to know that you're using Tor, but they won't really be able to see which websites you're trying to go to unless they run a more active attack. So, if being flagged as a Tor user would put you in trouble in your country, or if you don't want to be identified as a person that could be using Tor, then a really good solution is to use a VPN, and I'll talk about that in the next lecture. But for now, this is a free and a very good solution to access the Tor network if it's being blocked.